The story picks up again in the frozen city of Cremo. Suddenly, a deafening roar shakes the distant mountains, and a massive explosion sends a shockwave through the city. A huge column of smoke and ash rises into the sky, causing the inhabitants and Count Cremo to look on in horror. At the center of this controlled chaos are Lloyd, Javier, and a colossal version of Bangle. Bangle, using his new ability, Volcanic Explosion, has just created a miniature volcano. A shower of fine ash begins to fall on them. Lloyd is ecstatic. It's ash. Real volcanic ash. A gift from heaven, he shouts, while Javier, completely deafened by the explosion, looks at him in confusion, unable to hear a word. Lloyd, realizing he forgot to warn him, tries to communicate by screaming, but Javier remains impassive, which leads to a comical and one-sided argument. With the problem of cement ingredients solved, Lloyd starts construction. The key to success, as he declares, is speed. The first stage is a truly bizarre and public one. In the central square of Cremo, in front of a curious crowd, a gigantic diaper is installed, at the end of which is a 5-layer net. The bang, in its giant form, is positioned on top and, at Lloyd's command, unleashes another volcanic eruption, this time controlled, directly into the diaper. The fine net filters and collects the precious ash, to the utter amazement of Count Cremo, who has never seen such techniques before. He decides to keep a close eye on this unusual engineer, thinking that such talent cannot be allowed to go to waste in a small barony. The second stage involves the construction of a gigantic caisson, a huge wooden box, which is then transported by sea and sunk in the chosen location. Once the caisson is secured, Hamong, the water-drinking hippo, uses his one-shot ability to completely empty the structure of water, creating a dry workspace on the seabed. The third stage is the hard work. Javier, equipped with a huge sledgehammer, is tasked with driving hundreds of friction piles into the seabed, creating the foundation. Lloyd is amused by how obedient Javier has become, who no longer even protests, saying, "I'm a knight. Why should I do this?" When Javier tries to protest, Lloyd resorts to emotional blackmail, reminding him that if the project fails, they will not be able to pay their debts, and the Baron and Baroness will suffer. Defeated, Javier returns to work in resigned anger. After the foundation is ready, Lloyd uses the steel projectiles launched by Bangle to build the iron reinforcement. Then, freshly made cement is poured into the caisson. After it hardens, the wooden structure is dismantled, leaving behind a solid concrete platform that rises above the waves. The Count, though still skeptical, is impressed and promises a generous reward if the statue stands. To celebrate the statue's completion, the Count throws a lavish party on a fleet of ships. Lloyd, embarrassed in his nobleman's robes, feels uncomfortable. The Count, in a public speech, introduces the crowd to Javier as the hero who made the statue possible. The crowd, especially the ladies, overwhelm Javier with admiration. Lloyd, though feeling a pang of envy, consoles himself with the thought that he prefers quick bank transfers to compliments. Javier, on the other hand, is extremely irritated by the crowd's pitying looks. Seeing this, the Count bursts into laughter and makes another joke about Javier's servant face, much to the exasperation of both of them. Then, the Count corrects himself and introduces Lloyd as the true genius behind the platform, much to the shock of the guests who had considered him a mere attendant. That night, illuminated ships surround the new platform, on which rises a magnificent and muscular statue of a mermaid. The light show, however, attracts unwanted attention. A gigantic shadow moves beneath the waves. The sea monster, Gigatitan, erupts from the water, attracted by the commotion, but stops abruptly. Its massive eyes fix on the imposing statue. The beast recognizes its natural enemy. With a guttural sound, the monster dives back into the depths and flees. The city is saved. Everyone celebrates. But in Lloyd's mind, the plan is not over. Watching the retreating monster, a single thought crystallizes. There is only one. I'm going to kill him. The chapter ends with Lloyd looking out to the horizon, his current success only an intermediate step towards a much more dangerous and profitable goal: the hunt for a legendary monster.